One of the things that people tend to overlook when it comes to crowdfunding is ducks and whether or not they are in a row. And you need to find those ducks and get them lined up. So do you want to talk about the time factor and the effort factor?
Yeah, I mean, I am a very organization-oriented person, so
I am not.
But I knew that going into this we were already in pretty good shape, simply because I made sure that we had a good corporate foundation, our books were clean. That being said, we still had to go through 3 years worth of audits because of the overlapping time, and a lot of work to get our circular done and all of our ducks in a circle in a row.
Rows, circles, as long as they're facing in the same direction in some way, just get the damn ducks.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the other thing that we really had to prepare for was just how we're going to deal with the large number of investors, because it is a bit of an unknown. We were able to start our business online and sell shoes to thousands of people all over the world because of the internet. Most people's questions are answered on your webpage, so you don't have to talk to people or
Except
email.
most people will not look at those questions. They will ask you the same question. It's like question number 1 is the one that they're going to ask, even though they could have just read it right there. It's just one of those things.
But that being said, there's still a lot of people who are able to complete their purchases without ever having to interact with a human being. Because crowdfunding is so new, we didn't really know how much time we were going to be spending talking to investors, trying to answer their questions, helping them through the documentation. So we've currently got a team of 3 people who are almost entirely dedicated just to handling that side of things. So we're figuring out our systems as we go, but starting slowly, spreading the word to friends and family first, so they could test out. We could test out the platform and the interface with sympathetic audiences has been an important part of the process, and really just making sure that we're able to divert resources to taking care of investors if we need to do that.
We know that once the process is completed, we don't know what it's going to look like. We know that we want to do ongoing communication, whether it's through webinar or live chat or various things. So there's technological things that we're going to be dealing with that we'll figure out down the line. If you're using GoToWebinar or GoToMeeting, they have certain limitations about sizes. There's a lot of new tools that are coming out as well, so be on the lookout for that. You're going to want a good CRM package because you're going to want to be able to track who's doing what they're doing, what you've done with them. Ideally, you'll have a platform that will allow you to integrate with a good email service provider, so you can, or your CRM will allow you to create a series of emails that you're sending to people at different stages of their investment process or at different investment levels that you can then modify easily or create rules so that people move from one bucket to another depending on the kind of activities they take.
You also have to be prepared to be documenting all of your marketing and tracking all of your marketing, because that is something that the SEC requires us to do. It's important that everything we state is truthful and accurate and not misleading, and so we just have to have records of all of that, so you've got to have systems in place for that.
You need to get a pillow to scream into, and not for the reason that you think, because as entrepreneurs, you probably have a tendency to want to talk a lot about the future and things that are going to happen and things that you are going to do, and once you're essentially a public company, shut up! You can't do that. And I got to tell you, I'm saying this just from my own perspective. I literally am playing conversations out in my head. I'm having breakfast with someone on Saturday, and I had to rehearse what I'm not going to say because I'm no longer legally allowed to have the kind of conversations I've been having with my friends for the last 7 years. So that's a weird thing to prepare for, but we've also done some things with that. We've passed out email signature files and disclaimers and everything the SEC requires and made sure that people are using that. It sounds kind of crazy, but it is kind of crazy.
It's an interesting paradox, because on the one hand we are working to be as transparent as possible, but on the other hand the SEC wants to make sure that everybody has access to the same information at the same time. So even
though there's no inherent value for earliness, because the way we're doing it is, shares are a fixed price. It's not like you can give someone insider information and it's going to change the share price, but nonetheless that's the requirement.
Moving forward, we just have to make sure that when we do a webinar, that there's a transcript of that webinar that's available to everyone, even if somebody wasn't able to participate, and that people know how to find it and access it. So it's an interesting learning experience to try to figure out how to be open and compliant at the same time.
Make sure you have good backup systems for everything you're doing, whether it's just your individual computer. If you're running Gmail, you can use something like Backupify or anything to back up all of your emails. You need to have a good paper trail of everything. What else are we doing that's in the realm of just sort of technical, making it work? I want to reiterate something Elena said. We hired 2 people basically to run this campaign and what happens in the future. That's not an insignificant expense. We don't know what it's going to require as we move forward. At the very least, it's going to require one of those people who's going to be sort of like a brand ambassador manager. So it's almost like a concierge business because, again, we're trying to have this ongoing, continual interaction with our customers. So think about what you want that relationship to look like and make sure you have the people and the components in place to be able to do that.